Salute, Nick Nation. Welcome to the Queen's Court. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen, and my weekly spot, though a little earlier. The Knicks play at 8. So we're rocking early just to get something in before the game. You know how we do it. We'll talk about last week's games. I think we were 1-2 and 1-3 over our last 4. We'll talk about that. We'll preview tonight's game. And what else we play? I think Wednesday we play Orlando. We'll talk about that. Haven't had a lot of success against them. 0-2 on the season. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the case. We'll talk about the injury bug that's hit the Knicks and whether we're concerned. I'm not. I feel like we're losing games. It's specifically because of injury. And when we get better, we'll start winning again. Maybe I'm being too hopeful. I know there's some Knick fans. Shout out to Uncle Freezy Blanche Tears, very concerned about the losing. And if we lose tonight and Wednesday, I think he's gonna go over the edge again. You know, we're down, and I believe that when we're healthy, we'll get back to winning. Let me bring in Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
Pretty good for Monday at any rate. I want to get a win tonight, boy.
Yeah,
I'm not jumping off any ledges, but sure is more fun when we're winning.
yeah, it really is. Before we even get into last week's games, how concerned are you that we're 1-2 this week, 1-3 over our last 4?
So, my level of concern, the specific games that we lost and how we lost them. Hey, Ajay.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Doesn't really bother me. What concerns me is how long these guys are going to be out, and then how well are we able to keep the boat from sinking until they do, right? We've got to bridge that gap, and because if for example, I know that, but with Randall and Mitch and with OG, they're all kind of in a similar boat where they're supposed to be resuming basketball activities after the All-Star break. Well, that means it's probably going to be another couple weeks before they're actually going to see the court. And the way this Eastern Conference is, you miss all 3 of those guys for a month, 1-3 can turn into, 2-11 or, and not that they're playing poorly, but, and look, if Hartenstein comes back and you have Hartenstein and Sims together, I think they can hold down the fort well enough with everything else that we have where we're going to be okay. We kind of ran into 2 of the best offenses in the NBA, which didn't really help our cause this week, with Dallas and Indiana, both really good scoring teams. So I'm really interested to see when we play the Rockets, who maybe aren't as well known for their offense, if the results are similar or if we fare better. So I'm curious about that. So is there a level of concern? Yes, but not about the week that was, but just moving forward. Do we have enough? Because it would really be a shame if, to me, just stay in that top 6. I don't really care where we are in that top 6 at this point. If we were healthy, I would be eyeing that 2 seed, being like, yeah, we're definitely going to get it. I mean, I just feel like we have that kind of a team. But for right now, just stay in that top 6. And if we fall to 6, that may not be the end of the world, because, if you get healthy and you're at 6, well, then you don't have to play Boston until the conference finals if you make it that far. So it could be a blessing in disguise, but we're way ahead of ourselves here. We hadn't got to get to the top 6, earn that seed, and then, because I'm confident that this team can win on the road if we're a 5 or 6 seed. I'm not overly worried about that, but matchups are a concern. It doesn't look like Cleveland is ever going to lose again, so they seem like they're going to be in the 2nd spot. So you got to figure it's Milwaukee. How far does Philadelphia fall? They've been in free fall since the Embiid injury. And there's a chance that Indiana keeps rising, and Miami, I don't know. They've kind of been in a strange spot too. They lost again to Boston the other night. So I don't, again, for me, it's just keep the boat from sinking, stay afloat, get to the 6th seed so you don't have to worry about the stress of the play-in, because I don't have enough hair to deal with that.
Absolutely. You're right about that.
And I just want to get to this, and then let's start getting some of these guys back, because I really, with the job that Precious Achiuwa has done, and the way that he's been able to soak up minutes. Now, I don't want him playing 40 minutes a game like he has this past week necessarily, but if you can combine him with 2 other bigs, I think you have enough bigs in your rotation where you're going to be okay. And then Bogey and Burks should provide enough additional scoring punch with DiVincenzo and Brunson, where I feel like we should be able to bridge the gap. But I heart Sims are really the key to me, as far as I don't dislike Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart is fine, but if we had to miss Josh Hart for a couple of games, I don't think that's the end of the world.
Right. Let me
compared to those others.
Yes, I'm going to just get to Ajay also. How are you, by the way?
Okay, how are you, Queen? Jeff, and of course the NBK chat. Happy to be here hanging out with you guys as usual.
Okay. The Knicks are 1-2 since the last show, the last time we were here on the Queen's Court. 1-3 over our last 4. Any concerns about the injuries and how that's impacting? Yeah. Any concerns about the losing, and do you put that solely on the injuries? And if so, are you concerned about
it? Any concern about the losing? No. We're not Cleveland. We can't expect to win every game. Like Jeff said, they're going to win. They don't look like they're about to lose it, from here on out. And yes, I put it, of course, it has to do with the injuries. Yeah, I mean, starting lineup, half of the starting lineup is not there, and then in the middle of this, you got the trades going on. Quentin Grimes is gone. You have new guys that are getting acclimated to the team. I mean, there's a lot. It's really a perfect storm for us to lose games at this point. Like everything that's coming our way. Like, I mean, talk about dealing through adversity. This is perfect example of what that is. No, I'm not worried about it. Of course, I'm hoping, we get our guys back sooner rather than later, because they're not going to come back and then all of a sudden we turn on the switch. They're going to come back. It's going to take them a few games, because by the time they come back, you got to remember Julius Randle and OG comes back. There are 2 new guys that the rest of the team's been getting used to, that these guys now have to mesh with guys, so it's a lot of different parts that have to fit in, and they're going to have to do that on the fly. It's not going to be easy, but I'm not worried. And I don't know, in terms of positioning, like Jeff said, I just, as long as we end in 6 or better, I'm good. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. I definitely think we can win on a play-in. The thing about a play-in is that it's you're putting yourself in a one and done or 2, depending on whether you're 7 or 8. You're just putting yourself in a tough situation. Not that we can't go from 7, 8 to the semifinals or the finals, but like Jeff said, there's only so much stress our Knicks fans can take. We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot as it is. 1-2 over our last week. Let me just put this up so we can just get a visual. I'll go over the NBK family of shows soon. We're 33-20, so we were 1-2. since the last time we had the show. We're still in fourth place in the Eastern Conference, a 2-game losing streak. Offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating still in the top 10. But over the past week, 14th in offense, 29th in defense, 24th in net rating. Again, that's just our last 3 games, but it gives us a sense of how we've been trending with the injuries as far as our offense and defense is concerned. We beat Memphis 123 to 113. DiVincenzo's coming up big for us. He had 32 points in that game. Hart, say what you want. He's overpaid. But I'm really feeling his energy, seeing him on the boards, really, really playing hard and looking like the Josh Hart that I know over this stretch. 10 rebounds. The Knicks shot pretty well against Memphis, 55.8% on splits of 55.8, 40.7, and 80% from the free throw line. Lost to Dallas. I mean, we were really short. Brunson didn't play in that game as well. DiVincenzo, again, 36 points. Achua, to Ajay's points, been playing well. Me and Jeff, I guess we got a small egg on our face because and we're not the only ones, right? The first few games when he came over here, come on now, let's not front Nick family. We didn't think Achua would be playing like this. 12 rebounds that game. The Knicks shot on splits of 44.7, 37.8, and 90.9. Knicks have been shooting very well from the free throw line. And I don't understand. We lost 2 of our best free throw shooters, but it is what it is. Indiana, we lost. They wanted that game. I wanted that game as well. Brunson was back. He didn't even look like himself. He still had 30. He still had 39
right.
points. In the
Unbelievable.
first quarter, I was like, Brunson don't look right. He had 14. Hart 10 rebounds, and the Knicks shot on splits of 47.6, 31.3, and 91.3. So that's our recap of last week's games. Who or what stood out for you over this 1 and 2 week? Shout out to the chat, by the way. Appreciate you guys. Ajay, and then we'll go with Jeff.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Precious Achua. I mean, he's been playing better and better and better. Even when a lot of times he doesn't put the stat, but he also brings a lot of energy. You mentioned Josh Hart. He Precious Achua also brings a lot of energy, both on offense and defense. You see that he's still getting used to the team. He's still trying to figure out what's up, JJ. He's still trying to figure out like his teammates. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely that he to me was a standout. And Queen, we always have those little texts when we're watching the games. I said, Queen, Precious been playing well, but it's gonna get better because those 3-pointers that he's missing, he's not gonna keep missing them. He's a better 3-point shooter than he's been shooting since he's been here. I know Thibodeau doesn't really like his big men shooting threes unless like it's like Hail Mary, but he's actually an okay 3-point shooter. I mean, I'm not saying he's a sniper, but he's not a guy who
takes down in the last game. I think it was. One of them went down in the last game.
Like you see him going, but he's a guy that could, not like Miles Turner. Sometimes Miles Turner have a game like he's like 0 for 8 from 3, and then he'll have another game where he's 8 for 12. You know what I'm saying? So he's that kind of guy. I'm not saying he's as good, but he's as inconsistent. So he might have a game that he's great from 3-point line, and another game where he can't hit the backboard. Of course, DiVincenzo also. I mean, what a pickup that was. If this guy keeps playing the way he is, and we with the full team, with the full roster active, it's gonna be tough to beat us, man. It's gonna be tough. I mean, I think he's the third option. That third option has been.
You think he's the third over OG?
In terms of scoring, yes. Yes. I mean, the guy, he shows you he can consistently put up 30 points if he gets the shots. You know what I'm saying? If he catches the ball, if he gets the touches, he could put it up. So, One thing that bothers me though, Queen, and this is another thing I mentioned to you. Josh Hart, he really needs to shoot the ball, man. Like I know the last game he scored like 23 points or whatever, but he is passing on too many open shots to the point where they like it makes it harder for because now you're allowing somebody else to double team because they're not checking him at all because he's not taking a shot. Even if you're missing him, somebody's like you're gonna be in the back of somebody's mind. But if you're not taking the shots, they're not even looking at you. And that allows the other team, that allows the defense to double team on whomever, be it Bronson or DiVincenzo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, listen, we have two new guys on the team. Um, eh, give him time, man. Give him time. You know, I think moving forward we're gonna be all right. But in terms of that, what stood out for me is that, and the last thing that stood out for me is the fight. The Knicks never quit. They never quit. Even that Pacers game, you know, we obviously by halfway through the fourth quarter, you realize okay, we're done. No, but the Knicks, I mean, they try to make a comeback. They brought down to 10 points and about 12 points or whatever. Ended up losing by 14 points, but we never gave up. We kept on fighting and fighting and fighting. So yeah, that's a good mentally the team like really wants to fight it all like for 48 minutes. So that's good.
Right. I'll just say real quick before I hand it over to Jeff. What stood out for me is how the fight, yes, but how good these players are and how much better they're going to be when they can go back to their regular roles. I mean, right now we're asking them to step up. You know, we're asking DiVincenzo to create some as opposed to playing off of the shots he get off of Brunson's drives and off of Randall's. And I'm not saying he can't do that. He can. I don't think that's his steady diet, his his game per se. So we're asking guys to step up and kind of do a little bit more, as most teams do when there are injuries. But when we get our guys back, and DiVincenzo and Achua and these guys can go back to their regular roles, they're going to be even better. And so that stood out for me. DiVincenzo's been killing most of the season, and I think a lot of us saw that from the beginning. We were pushing for him to get that starting spot. Um, yeah, yeah. And Burke stood out for me. That's my guy. I was really hoping for him to come back, and you really get to see what he brings as far as scoring is concerned. Before I get to Jeff, though, let me ask you this: Burks is playing that hybrid 1-2 in that second unit. We know he could score. We know he could put shots up. We know he can get hot. Any concerns about him running the team in that second unit, Jeff?
Well, I was about I went before you asked that question. Even I was going to say, however you feel about Alec Burks, that first game back, he gave you the full Alec Burke experience. So if you're someone who doesn't like him, you can point to the kind of shaky play at the start of the game.
Right.
If you're someone who really likes him, you can say, but look, he's a bucket. Look what he did in the fourth quarter come crunch time. Like all the Alec Burks things, he gave all of them to you in that first game. So from that standpoint, but
Yeah.
I don't worry about it so much because like the thing that we were all furious about with Alec Burks was that we had Emmanuel Quickly, who we wanted to see what he could do as a lead guard, right? We didn't know, and we wanted to see. We hadn't had an opportunity to see, but Thibodeau said, no, I'm going to take Burks. We don't have another point guard, and I'm going to shoehorn him into the starting point guard role, which is not what he's supposed to be. And so if you're talking about, Brunson being out for some reason and him having to run point guard for 35 minutes or so, then yeah, not real happy about that. But if you're talking about running the second unit, I don't have a problem, because let's look at him. He's 6'6". He can run the pick and roll effectively. He can get people in their spots, and he has that dribble penetration and that free throw rate. And so I think all of those things, free throw rate makes a big difference. I think that's one of the things that quickly got to the line quite a bit. And so that's one of the things we were sorely missing in that second unit. And that's something that not only he, but Bogey can do that too. But I think for and the other thing is you can stagger the lineups, where I think if you can put him there with another ball handler, like DiVincenzo, for instance, in that second unit, and you have those two kind of split that job. Like, neither one of them is like perfect at it, but I think they both do enough that they can complement each other as a 1 and 2, where you can get by and it not be, atrocious at all. They'll be good, I think. Let me say, again, but full disclosure, I comment that as being someone who likes Alec Burks. I like players to get better as the game goes on, and he's has a history of being a strong fourth quarter performer. And I think when they're healthy, you're going to see times, if he's on one, that he's in the closing lineup.
I agree.
I just think that's true. And to your other point, I think it's not just about our guys who, like Achua, who are being asked to step into bigger roles. The injuries are also having an effect on Jalen Brunson. And what I mean by that is, you look at Brunson's stats over the last few games, and the types of three-point attempts that he's getting are much more difficult. He's not shooting them at as high a percentage, because they're not those just catch and shoot opportunities. Like when Randall in the game, Randall gets that double team, you get it to Brunson, and Brunson's automatic on those shots, right? And so he's having to get a lot more of his shot diet from inside the paint. If you've noticed all these scoring numbers, you're seeing a lot more of him being inside the arc, doing his footwork magic that he does, and not that he can't do that, but it'd be nice and it'd be better for him if you can get him some of those easy in rhythm threes. That we don't have anybody that can really get him right now. Yeah, I think that the injuries are taking a toll like that, and I really would like to see, everybody back to their normal roles, and when they are, that just makes things easier for everybody, and including Brunson, because he and DiVincenzo have just been, carrying the load. Just from volume of shots and everything else, and that's not DiVincenzo's natural bent either. I don't think. I think it's kind of like, well, they need me to take these shots because we don't have anybody else to soak up the usage, and that's one thing that he can do that Quentin Grimes could. And I don't know if I don't mean to bag on Grimes. That's not what I'm saying. But Grimes was just not a player who was comfortable, for whatever reason, in soaking up that additional usage. Whereas DiVincenzo, he's been a better shooter too, but he's not afraid to take that high volume of shots if that's what's required.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anything else that stood out, or anything else you want to talk about before we get into some other things? What's the thing with Taj? Let me tell you something. I was running around, so I got to the game late. I didn't get a chance to check what the starting lineups was going to be, who was in, who was out. I didn't even know Brunson was playing. I turned on the TV, it's Taj starting the game. I was like, come on. Come on. Everybody know how I feel about Tom Thibodeau, but I feel like at some point you got to give it up. At some point, I get it. Good locker room guy. He knows the plays. He's not going to have a problem sitting back on the bench when everybody is. Listen, there's somebody else who's not going to have a problem sitting back on the bench when we're healthy. Find that guy. Come on.
But Queen, what were his? Who would you have put in the starting lineup instead of Taj?
No,
Would you
on the roster. who would I have put on the
Oh,
roster
on the roster. Okay.
besides Taj?
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I get what you're saying. Like there wasn't, Isaiah Hartenstein was out, Mitch is out, Sims is out.
What's up
I
with
think I
Sim?
would have went with a Chew at 5 and Hart at 4. I don't know. Figure it out. I mean, yeah.
Anybody know what happened to Jericho Sims? Why was he out? Oh,
Sickness.
just sickness.
That's it. And he'll be back. From what I understand, he'll be back tonight. And
Hopefully,
this is how bad it is that I'm looking forward.
it's the Sims.
I'm looking forward to Sims coming in tonight and starting. I'm looking forward to it. For sure. Anything else from last week? What's your thoughts on after seeing Burks and Bogdanovich? Your thoughts on them? Ajay, we'll start with you and then Jeff.
So I mean, and I think Jeff mentioned Burks. We had bad Burks. We had good Burks. We had Burks, middle Burks that makes no difference. Like he's there. It's like as if he's not even there. And but we know what he can do. We've had him for a couple of years, so we understand who Alec Burks is. Like he's the guy that he could come, and give you and play 20 minutes, give you one bucket, or he could come play 20 minutes and give you 15 points. So but he is a big body. Tom Thibodeau likes him because he's very switchable on defense, so he helps in that sense because he's got good size and he's a smart basketball player. He's a high IQ player. He drives to the basket, get a lot of calls, get the other team guys in foul trouble. So he's very so he's definitely a good addition to the team. And Bojan Bogdanovich, listen, he's a good shooter. He didn't have a great shooting game his first game, but you see the activity. Like, he didn't come here like he didn't want to be. He's almost excited to be here. He was putting the ball on the floor, trying to drive the basket. He wasn't just trying to shoot threes. He was trying to make plays. And that's good. Like if we get that guy, again, when we're all healthy, this guy coming off the bench, I mean, it's gonna be a very good situation for us, So yeah, listen, two very excellent, great additions to the team, basketball wise. That was a superb move by the front office. Yeah, I like what we have.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff, I know you talked about Burks already. Your initial impressions on Bohan?
He's just a legit 20-point per game scorer. Really, the thing that I have pause about right now with the way we're constituted is he doesn't seem like he's a really good defender at all. And I think when we're healthy and you have guys like OG and Hart that you're playing next to him, you could hide him. But with the injuries that we have and everything, I'm kind of worried about, everything that he's getting for us, he's giving back up on the other end. That's my primary concern. And I know small sample size and everything that may be completely unfair, and he didn't, he shot 3 for 10 from the field. I'm not worried about that. But, our coach, if he's a traffic cone on defense, it doesn't matter what he can do on offense. He's going to be out of the rotation before too long. And I really hate to see that because I think it's kind of one of those things where we need him to soak up minutes for now. But then I think his right role is going to be when we have all of our good players back, because we can have the right situations to plug him into where we're not relying on him so much defensively. But I think he's a weapon. I mean, he can flat out score the basketball on all three levels, and guys who can do that are not easy to find. And he's a winner. I mean, I read that this was the first Detroit team, that's first time he was on a non-playoff team in his career.
That's great. Yeah.
So That to me, if you've done it in the playoffs, and it could be, and I don't know, like I haven't followed him his whole career, so maybe it's the case of you're playing for a young bad team in Detroit who's not trying on defense, and so that makes you look. If you're not that skilled a defender to begin with, you're going to look worse in that situation. And maybe when he's on a team that preaches defense and has that defensive culture, maybe he steps up a little bit more. Not that he's not ever gonna be OG Anunoby on defense, right? But just where he's passable on that end, where because he does have good size. I mean, he's a big guy. We have plenty of size on the wing now, and that was definitely not something you could say. I mean, RJ Barrett was our only 6'6" guy on the wing at the start of the season, and now we can play massive lineups where everybody on the court is 6'6" or bigger if we want to. I mean, we don't want to because our best player is Jalen Brunson, but for a few minutes, you can definitely see it happen.
Yeah, I need Tibbs to work it out. I just need you to work it out. This is a guy. We're not just talking about somebody who can just stand out on the 3-point line and hit threes. He can hit it off the catch, off the bounce. He can he'll drive, he'll pull up, for the mid range. You can put him in pick and rolls. I mean, this is not just somebody that you just standing in the corner, hoping that somebody passes him to the three. And he could play make. And by that meaning he understands the game. He can drive and kick and make good, make good decisions, as most players who played in Europe do. Figure it out. When we're healthy, like you said, we should be able to fill the team like we do with Brunson, where maybe he's just the only, weakest defensive link. You know what I mean? So figure it out. I don't want to see us going into the playoffs with somebody on the bench that can help us, who has playoff experience, not playing because Tibbs is focusing on his defense instead of focusing on what he does best. And how can you put him out there with a team that covers his flaws? Like, you want to see me upset? I'm going to be upset. I need Tibbs to figure this out, because as I've been saying, I was very uncomfortable going into the playoffs as well as our starting unit was playing. Very uncomfortable going into the playoffs with McBride and Grimes as our two scorers off the bench, because Hart, like Ajay says, he'll take the shot. He might not take the shot. That's just really not his game. Those were the two guys we were depending on to score for us in that second unit, and whatever Precious would have gotten off of, and Mitch, if he's back off of offensive, it wasn't good enough. So you go out, you spend draft capital, Grimes, you bring back Burks and Bogdanovich, and you're not going to play him? Like, yeah. All right. I'm not going to even get upset right now. I'm just going to let it play out and see what happens.
But my ideal too, just to play off of that also, is if Mitch does come back and you have in the reserve unit, if you're playing, because if it's still a 9-man rotation, if you have Mitch, OG, and Bogey, or even Mitch, Hart, and Bogey, I think that's enough defense with two quality, with Burks and whoever else is in there. I think that's enough. That should be enough defensively to let Bogey cook and do his thing, in my opinion. And I would actually like to see him on the pick and roll in that second unit. We don't run a lot of pick and roll, so especially in the second unit. So that would be a nice change. I think that's something that, as these guys are here longer, that you're going to see Coach Thibodeau tap into.
Ajay, you wanted to say something, because I want you guys to comment on something in the chat.
I wanted to say, you know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like Queen is calling for Tibbs to play a 10-man rotation. I'm just saying.
No.
Yeah.
No,
that's what
it
sounds
like. Rotation.
So you want to play
best players out there?
You want him to play Bogdanovich. Who's sitting there? Somebody's sitting there.
Somebody is sitting, but Burks, Bogdanovich, Hart and Mitch if he's healthy, and if it's not Mitch, it'll probably be Achua.
Mm.
You know, if Mitch is not healthy and ready to go. But I don't see why you not play those two guys. You know, I'm not for a 10-man rotation because I want my best players playing the most minutes in the
It,
playoffs.
it'll happen though. I know you don't want to hear it, but it will happen.
Okay, we will see. We can bet on that after the show. Keith Turner, but we can get the same shooting from Fournier. We didn't have to trade for the same play. They play different positions though. Fournier is more 2-3, but Bohan is more 3-4. They may overlap at the three, but he has more size than Fournier. Your thoughts? Do you two see him as the same player as
No,
Fournier? And
no,
if yes or no, why not?
he's not the same player. He's a slightly better defender than Fournier, and he's a better shooter than Fournier. So it's two things that I mean, obviously we know Tibbs had a problem with Fournier because he couldn't play defense. And not like he didn't try, but Bogdanovic's size and his activity on the court make he's like I said on the previous on the show in on the Queen on Dope Soul Sports Talk last Friday on Friday. He is a traffic cone. He's just not as bad a traffic cone as Fournier. He's not a great defender, but he is a better shooter. He's definitely a better shooter than Evan Fournier. So, and hopefully he stays ready because if he doesn't, you want a guy that if he's not getting 15 minutes, but you want to call him at the end of a quarter just to tie the game that he could come in and be ready and hit that 3-pointer that you're looking for. Hopefully he could do that. But yeah, he's a slightly better player. He is older, but right now, I mean, really, what we're trying to accomplish here, what difference does it make whether the guy's 30 or 34? As long as he can put the ball in the basket, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Jeff, your thoughts on whether they're the same players? Why not?
I think he's like Evan on steroids, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of similarities in their game, but I agree with Walter White's comment that I just think he's a better overall offensive player in all three phases. I think they're both high IQ foreign players, so I can see the similarities, but I think he's better off the catch and shoot. I think he's a better shooter overall. I think he's better off the dribble. I think he's better in the pick and roll. To me, he's just a better offensive player. And so and he's crafty and he can draw fouls. He gets the line. There's a lot of things that he can do, and he has a lot of tools that there's not a whole lot he can't do on offense in the NBA. Let's just put it that way. At a really high level. I mean, he can put up 20 points a night on a really bad team. That on efficiently. Not he's not going to be a guy that's going to take 20 shots to get 20 points. He's going to be efficient, and he's a sniper. And like I said, I really want him to be in the right lineups with enough defense around him when he's healthy, where we can just kind of, especially in the second unit, just kind of rely on him to be an engine, because I really feel like he can do that. And I never felt like Evan could. And maybe I'm just overrating him because he's new, and I will be honest, I haven't seen a ton of his game. I'm going a lot by what trusted people have said, that people's opinions of that I trust, that have seen him more than I have. And so I know International Andy is a big Bogey fan. He was wanting him months before we made that trade. I remember.
What did he say about the trade? I don't remember. Did he mention anything in our chat?
I don't think he did, but I know that even before, like, because he and I had a conversation, and I was kind of against it, and he's like, "No,
yes, I remember
this
that.
is the right kind of player that we need." And so from that, I can't imagine that opinion having reversed within whatever it was, a couple weeks from when he said it, but this was prior to, you
Yeah.
know,
He liked him over IQ, so you know he's gonna
yeah,
like him over Fournier.
right.
Right. Monostar 718. Adding Burks didn't make sense either. They don't explore outside their comfort zone. To me, I like Burks, Monostar 718, but I agree with you in terms of exploring outside your comfort zone. And I get it. They're looking for players who fit with the culture and players who fit, offensively and defensively with what they're trying to do. I wouldn't be surprised, Jeff, if they looked at Bohan's free throw rate, his ability to is it him or Burks? Burks' free throw rate and ability to draw fouls and his free throw shooting, and that was a part of it as well. But yeah, that's been the
They both
Knicks.
have good free throw rates, though.
They both
Bohan's
have
is not as high as Burks, but Burks is like 30%, I think, and Bohan is like 25, which may not sound like a lot, but Grimes was like 11, I think, or something like that. So you're talking, or 12, something. So you're talking about, you know, a massive difference. And that's what we're talking about here, right? Grimes was in that role, and Bogey and Burks are replacing that role, and quickly to a certain extent. But I think quickly Burks gets to the line every bit as much as Quickly did. So, and he's bigger, and so you can more easily play him as alongside Jalen Brunson if you need to.
Yeah. Hopefully him playing, like seeing him in that second unit, it just brought back that question about do we still need a point guard for that second unit? But I hear what you're saying, Jeff. 10 minutes, it's not going to be a lot of point guard minutes in that second unit anyway. All right. This is kind of small, but the Knicks are in fourth place. We flirted with second place. Was it last week or so? Like a half game out of second, we flirted with it. But because of the injuries, if the Knicks can hold four, even as we discussed earlier, 4 through 6, I'm happy. I'm happy. I don't think the Knicks need, if they're healthy, I don't think they need home court advantage. It would help anybody if you had it, but I don't think they necessarily need it. If healthy, I like the Knicks' chances against anybody. I'm not saying we would be the favorite, but I like the Knicks' chances against any team in the Eastern Conference when healthy. Any thoughts on the Eastern Conference before we move on to the game tonight and Wednesday, where the Knicks are? Who's in the top 8? Any surprises?
Well, it looks like Doc Rivers is the only person who can stop Giannis Antetokounmpo, right?
Oh,
I mean, the
yeah,
Bucks
they're
are
like
struggling.
1-5 or something like that. 1-5.
Yeah, they're struggling, and I don't. There's something not right in that locker room. I can't. They're just something's off in that whole Milwaukee situation, and I don't know exactly what it is, but firing a coach when you're 30-13. I mean, that it's just a very very strange situation, and Philly has their problems without Embiid, and so again, if we were healthy, there was an opportunity. I think Indiana is dangerous. Siakam was a great addition for them. He solves a lot of the things that ailed them, not as well as OG would have, but he still does a lot to push them to the upper half of the conference. So yeah, it's going to be a dogfight. I could see a bunch of teams with over 45 wins come the end. So, and that's one of the reasons why I think this stretch with all these players out is so critical, to at least tread water, stay at least 500 in these games, until we can get our guys back.
Yeah. Did anybody hear whether Hartenstein? Oh, Hartenstein is out actually because he's on one of my fantasy teams and it says out. So
Mm.
he's out. Um, Jeff, I mean not Jeff. Ajay, anything you want to add?
About the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we firmly in fourth place. And I expect us to stay and stay afloat. You know, um, we're game and a half ahead of Philly, and Philly's like in free fall right now. If
And one
anything,
game behind Milwaukee.
in one game, still one game behind
Still.
Milwaukee. With 1-3 in the last 4 games. So I mean, I expect us to finish third or fourth, no worse than fifth. Um, so no, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Cleveland is
They,
on a tear.
oof,
Um, but you know, I say this all the time. You could be a great team in the regular season. Sometimes it translates. Sometimes it doesn't.
Would
We shall
anybody
see.
be surprised if Cleveland got the second seed and then lost in the first round?
Mm-mm.
I don't think they would. I mean, for a couple of reasons. I'm not saying that to diss Cleveland. They're a very good team. Donovan Mitchell's an excellent player. He's playing at MVP level right now. I'd still rather have Brunson, but that's another conversation. But would anybody really be surprised if like Miami was the seventh seed and with their experience and their culture, if they went in there and beat Cleveland as the 2 seed? I wouldn't be, and that's not a knock on Cleveland as much as it is to say the Eastern Conference is really good and it really deep. I mean, you got teams like Brooklyn and Toronto can't get wins because the teams ahead of them are just really stout. And I think it's as tough an Eastern Conference as far as depth is concerned as we've seen in a long time from
Long
from
time.
1 through 10.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a dogfight. It's like if the Knicks finish two, just say second, they could have played Orlando. If they finish six, they may still play like a Milwaukee. Or I mean, it's you just got to be ready to roll. No matter where you end up, you're gonna play a really good team. Even if one plays, say, where is where was Indiana on there? Indiana is six. If Indiana goes to the play-in and they go to 8, you think whoever's one gonna feel comfortable playing in Indiana? No.
No.
They beat Milwaukee. I think they're 3-0 against Milwaukee, and I think they have a winning record against the Celtics. I will say though that things do slow down in the playoffs, and that may hurt them. But yeah, who knows? It's going to be really really interesting. All right, so we play the Rockets tonight. They're 23-29. They lost four straight, 12th in the Eastern Conference. We beat them earlier this season, so we're 1-0. This is not the same team from last year, though. At one point in the season, they were over 500. They're dealing with some injuries. Sagoon will play tonight.
Mm.
Cam Whitmore is out. Fred Van Vliet is out. Tyree Eason is out. So they're dealing with some injuries. They're 22nd in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating, 16th in net rating. This defensive rating, though, was for the entire season. They have some injuries, so I'm not sure where their defense is right now. Then we play Orlando Wednesday, and this is our last game before the All-Star break. They're 29-24. They've won their last two, 7th in the Eastern Conference. We played them twice. We lost twice. 24th in offensive rating, 4th in defensive rating, 14th in net rating. So they're a really good team. And, we're going to be without OG. We're going to be without Randall. We're going to be, obviously we've been without Mitch. And Hartenstein is game to game. I wouldn't be surprised if he sits out
I would
through
be
the
shocked if we saw Isaiah Hartenstein
I,
before
I, I
for
would.
Philly.
His next game should be after the All Star break. Let him heal completely.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of hoping that Wednesday game, you know how you have young teams and they kind of get excited for the All-Star break and they kind of shut it down before they should shut it down. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, how like when you were in school and spring break was about to happen and you had 2 tests, but you're kind of already in spring break mode. So you didn't really do that well on those tests. You know what I mean? Sometimes that happens with young teams in the NBA. So I'm kind of hoping that's what happens with that Magic game. But the Magic have a lot of size, and with our injuries, that's going to be a. I mean, we weren't that great against them when we had our lineup, so
We were.
I don't know who's going to guard Banchero. That matchup really bothers me. You got to. The Rockets are struggling though. We've got to find a way to get a win tonight, and then whatever happens, and we get the win. If we can find a way to get a win tonight, then tomorrow, then I just consider Wednesday's game gravy. Get the win if you can. If you can't, it's no big deal.
I mean, I feel comfortable with our rebounding with Sims and Achua and Josh Hart in the starting lineup. And I think, you know, Bohan will be, is it Bohan or Bojan? Bohan, he'll be more you know, hopefully more acclimated. I know it's just the second game, but we need you, Bohan. I hope you went to sleep with that playbook. And Burks coming off the bench, so we have some scorers coming off the bench, and Deuce has been playing well, you know. And I like that, you know, when you got Deuce back there with Burks, you're not depending on, you know, on Deuce.
Although Deuce has regressed to the mean in his last 5 or 6 games from the three, he's really, I think he's shooting like 25% in his last 5 or 6 games from three, and that's really what makes Deuce playable, is that if he's shooting the three at the high, you know, in the 40% territory plus his defense, that's a really playable guy. If he's playing his defense and is shooting 20% from three, he's much less of a playable guy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Shout out to Sean Ramos. I'm not hearing them pronouncing it that way on the broadcast though. Bojan.
Bojan. You know what?
I'm not hearing that.
I mostly hear Bohan, but I've heard a couple of people say Bojan.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It depends
Bojan?
Bojan.
Predictions.
For
I'm gonna say
tonight,
1-1. We'll say 1-1.
I'm gonna say Burks and Bohan is gonna come through for us, and we're going 2-0.
yeah, we're going 2-0.
Brunson is back. The burner is back now. Let's not underestimate.
Listen, dub and dub. We flying. We going to the All-Star game with the next 2 games in the W column.
All right.
Without a doubt.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'm with that. All right. Shout out to Simeon Russell, the creator of the channel. This is the MBK family of shows. We got you covered for all your basketball needs. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button. Pre-game, post-game, the shoot around with Simeon Russell, the NBA wrap-up with Ron and Still Knicks fan. Shout out to Ron doing this thing. The controversy with Josh, a.k.a. Uncle Fulio. The Losers Lounge with Tony of Knicks and Bruises. Last 4 games, he only did 1 show. You know, so hopefully the Knicks win these next 2. Live shows and videos by International Andy, who lives in Poland and will be in the United States in early March. So if you guys, I'm not sure if it was announced yet, but we're trying to, or Sam, I should say, trying to get together a group to go to a Knick game so that we can meet International Andy. So whenever that information gets out there, please sign up so we can meet Andy and meet each other. Queen's Court right here with Stephanie of Dope Soul Sports Talk. If you don't know, I have my own channel, Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk. Right now, I'm only on Fridays, trying to push another show in there during the week after the All-Star break. We'll see. But check us out Friday nights for the weekly show. And again, special programming and events by Sim. Support DJ Shuttle. He's usually a panelist on the Queen's Court, but Monday he got a new gig on Instagram. All right. So check him out. He's live every Monday at 8 p.m. And then also Fridays, he's on 108 Soul. So
All
wherever
aboard.
you get
All aboard.
all aboard, right?
Queen, one quick thing, y'all guys hit the like button on the way out. That's the way to let YouTube know that you're appreciating this thing, and of course, us who doing the show for you to let us know that it's good. I mean, we know you appreciate it because you're here in the chat, and shout out to the chat. But just that little thumbs up. It's very, very simple and very easy. Just let everybody know you're liking the show. And Queen, you might as well announce tonight after the post game show there will be a losers lounge. You might as well announce it.
Wow.
Yeah, we should definitely
Don't
get this
embarrass.
one.
Don't embarrass me, Knicks.
Yeah, I'm pretty encouraged with Burks and Bojan coming off the bench. I'm encouraged by that. Any last words?
Go Knicks, man. 2-0, baby. We getting a dub tonight.
Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you, Jeff and Ajay, for joining me. Shout out to Sim,
you.
Tony Crow, DJ Shuttle, everyone who shared the panel. And let's get this win tonight.
Yep.
Till next time, fam.
And